Hello, my name is Frizzell, and this is my Assure lesson plan walkthrough for our copyright assignment. Starting off on A, Analyze Learners. My learners would be 10th grade reading students at a public high school in Texas. At the beginning, I would give a short quiz via Kahoot to see what the students know about copyright scenarios and analyze what they need more details on. I know these students are digital natives, familiar with technology and online resources, but have little copyright background. For differently abled students, this assignment could be given extended time to turn in, larger text, and accommodations such as providing articles for research instead of having them find articles online, breaking down the analysis process via graphic organizer, and providing a structured outline for their presentation. Analyze Learners continued, again on our second slide here. For gifted students, this assignment could be extended via deeper research using scholarly articles and expert interviews, and more in-depth analysis by having them find controversial copyright topics and case studies. For learning preference, students will be given the option on what type of copyright they want to research, for example, songs, artwork, books, etc., and the choice on how to present to the class. A multimedia presentation, role-playing scenarios, etc., whatever they come up with that they approve with me as the librarian. I will be walking around to verify who needs more help via one-on-one discussion or to provide more thorough discussion if they are advanced students. So for our first S, State Standards and Objectives, for the ISTE Standards for Students, I chose 1.2C. Students demonstrate an understanding of and respect for the rights and obligations of using and sharing intellectual property. And 1.3C. Students curate information from digital resources using a variety of tools and methods to create collections of artifacts that demonstrate meaningful connections or conclusions. So for the assignment portion of the lesson I designed, there are two parts. The first part is a more formative assessment. In groups, students will be given copyright scenarios and they will have to decide if the usage is fair use or if it is a copyright infringement. And then individually, they will research, create, and present information about a specific copyright topic that they're interested in, like songs, songwriting beats, movies, pictures, social media, etc., and they present on that. That is how they will demonstrate their understanding for the respect for rights and obligations of using and sharing intellectual property, and the research part is where they are curating information from digital resources. For our AASL standards, I have 1B3. Learners engage with new knowledge by following a process that includes generating products that illustrate learning. So that's that presentation piece that they come up with and share with the class. As well as 6B2, learners use valid information and reasoned conclusions to make ethical decisions in the creation of knowledge by acknowledging authorship and demonstrating respect for the intellectual property of others. So they're doing that through the project, through the formative lesson, and through citing their own works on the project as well. Continuing on with state standards and objectives, the Texas School Library standards that I chose were Strand 4, Dimension 6. The library encourages students to use digital intellectual property responsibly and understand copyright rules, as well as make responsible online decisions, understand the significance of a digital identity, and use positive digital citizenship practices. The part I underlined is the part that directly connects to this lesson, right, which is where they're using digital intellectual property and they're understanding current copyright rules. The objectives for the lesson itself, I have two main ones. By the end of the lesson, students will be able to demonstrate an understanding of copyright in the digital age, including its impact on creativity, intellectual property, and ethical considerations. By the end of the lesson and the assignment, 10th grade students in a reading class in Texas will be able to apply their knowledge of copyright guidelines and fair use principles to analyze real-life scenarios and make informed judgments, demonstrating at least 80% accuracy in their analysis and evaluation of copyright-related issues. For the second S in the ASSURE acronym, we've got select strategies and resources. So the strategies used would be lecture, class discussion, multimedia presentations, group activities, independent research, and hands-on creation if they choose to do not an online multimedia presentation, but they choose to do a poster or create artwork of some sort that still answers all the questions, of course. The resources that they'll be given, they will get my presentation slides on copyright, covering copyright guidelines and fair use. I will make sure they have access online. If for whatever reason they do not have access, I will print the presentation slides. They also will get case scenario printouts for group activities, and those are retrieved from that URL. I also have it cited in my works cited on this PowerPoint. It has the specific case scenarios for copyright. They also have computers or devices with internet access for research and exploration, and they will be given art supplies or digital tools for hands-on creation. Utilize resources. I will preview resources. I have previewed the lesson materials, handouts, media presentation, and I will know how students will turn their assignment in, whether my school uses Schoology or Canvas or Google Classroom, or if they'll email me their multimedia presentations. All of that will be previewed. Then prepare resources. I will print out the copyright scenarios to hand out to students. I will make the PowerPoint available to them, and I have created the rubric for the research assignment the students will be doing, and they will have access to that rubric on a printout as well. Next, I will prepare the environment. The lesson will take place in the library at the projector screen, which has a computer lab in front of it. I will provide resources that students may choose from for their presentation, like cameras, art supplies, poster board, markers, etc. Continuing on with utilize resources, I will then prepare the learners by giving them the Kahoot quiz to prepare them to learn about copyright, and I will also go over the objectives of the lesson with them. And I will also provide the learning experience. So I will provide the lecture. I will be walking around as students work in groups on their scenarios and participate in class discussion. And I will check in with students as they're completing their copyright research assignment and helping them with any questions they may have about the presentation as well. R, require learner participation. For the introduction, students are taking part in an interactive Kahoot quiz. That is how they are participating. For the lecture, students do have to pay attention to the copyright lecture because it has concept that they will then have to apply in multiple ways later on. They will have a group activity that is very brief. In groups, students will analyze copyright scenarios to see whether they fall under fair use or if they infringe on copyright and take part in group discussion. For their independent research and presentation, students will conduct independent research on their chosen area of interest within copyright, for example, songs, books, ideas, art pieces, etc., in the digital age, providing access to relevant resources and assisting in topic selection. They will then create a presentation of their choice on what they researched and presented. They may create a multimedia presentation, a video, a poster, anything that I approve of if that they come up with creatively, because I don't know every way they can present, and sometimes they come up with really good ideas. E, evaluate and revise. This is the rubric that I created that I would evaluate them on and present to them as they work on their project. The project would be called Copyright in the Digital Age, Research and Presentation. And it says, you will investigate the impact of copyright in the digital age, analyze real-life examples, and present findings to the class. So there are 4 criteria. We have proficient, which is 25 points, emerging 19 points, and beginning 13 points. The 4 criteria I'll get into in a second. I just wanted to make a quick note For beginning, they are given 13 points and not 0 points because at my school and many other schools, we are supposed to grade on a 50 to 100 scale and not give anything really lower than a 50. So I did take that into account when making this rubric. Okay, so for our first criteria, did they choose a specific copyright topic? For proficient, if they chose a modern and specific copyright topic, for example, music, social media, movies, books, ideas, and art, they would get those points. If they only chose either a modern topic or only a specific copyright topic, but not both, they would get an emerging. And beginning would be that they did not choose a modern or specific copyright topic. The next criteria is it well researched and correctly cited? They would get a proficient if they clearly provide researched information about their topic and copyright and have fully correct APA citation. They would get an emerging if they were only partially well researched and there are mistakes in the APA citation. And if there was no research evident and no citation, they would get a beginning. The third criteria would be an analysis of real-world examples. So they would get a proficient if they do analyze at least 2 real-life examples of copyright infringement or fair use cases within their chosen area, considering all 4 factors of fair use in their analysis. They would get an emerging if they only analyze 1 real-life example or do not analyze using all 4 factors, one or the other, they would get emerging. If they didn't do either, they would get a beginning. And the fourth criteria would be the presentation. They would get a proficient if they created an appropriate presentation that covers all of the above aspects in this rubric and is well spoken when presenting. They would get an emerging if they did not create an appropriate presentation, they are not well spoken in the presentation, or they do not cover all of the above aspects in this rubric. And then they would get a beginning if they did not create a presentation whatsoever and do not present. And I used Quick Rubric to create this rubric. And here is my reference list for this specific presentation. Like I said, the copyright scenarios would come from Western Oregon University's LibGuides, so it is linked there. Additionally, this presentation template was created by SlidesGo and includes icons from Flat Icon and infographics and images by FreePic. So I did want to credit them, as we are supposed to. Thank you for listening to my presentation.